All of the forest behind me filled with deer. Look how many there are. Dozens and dozens. I like this spot a lot. Yeah, I am going to set up here for sure. Well, there's only 3 days until archery season for white-tailed deer opens up here in Missouri. I haven't done any scouting yet, so I don't have any spots. And that's what I'm doing here today. I need to find at least 2 to 3 spots that I can hit up when the season opens. That's why I'm here, to hike out a couple miles into the woods to find some good pinch points that I think the deer are gonna like. My name is Carter, and you're watching Outdoor Science. Oh, hey little guy. I'm just gonna leave him there. So I was just getting a shot of all the crop fields, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I looked down, saw some trash that'll pack out with me, but then it made me notice. I think that's an acorn, and this is deer candy. The only problem is this is dry and, well, uneaten, which means they're not feeding on acorns right here. I'm not really the best at identifying trees, but I am going to try to find some oak trees today so I can find some acorn droppings, because they should be falling, especially some white oaks, because those are the sweeter acorns that the deer really prefer. But this is definitely not the spot. I'm only about a half mile in, and this is the first access to a really big crop field that I think people are really going to hang out on. So I'm going to keep going. My first spot is a pinch point squeeze between a river and a really steep bluff. So that's where I'm going first. I'm going to be walking along the edge of this field, on the edge of this forest, and I'm headed over to that bluff over there. The bottom side of that bluff meets up with a river, and I want to get on the land between the two. Alright, as I'm walking along the edge of this field, I found acorns. This right here is an oak tree, and to be quite honest, I don't know the difference between a white oak and a red oak. All I know is that the oaks are dropping acorns, and that's what we have right here. I'm still new at looking for deer sign, and this is making it kind of tricky because there might be a little clearing in the forest right there, but other than that, there's no obvious signs that the deer are coming out here. I'm not really seeing any hoof prints or anything, so these might be fresh still. I see a few that are still green. At least I know the acorns are falling. It is hot and humid. I've only gone maybe 3/4 of a mile and I'm drenched. One nice thing about taking breaks when it's hot is that you can sit here and watch and look. I wouldn't expect much movement right now. I think all the deer are pretty bedded down, but still it's always nice to just see what's going on. Okay, we have scat. Not really sure what that's from. It doesn't look too much like deer poop to me. So let me know in the comments what you think. Here's another one, and it's right next to some sort of print, potentially. Yeah, I don't know what that's from. This is on a little break in the edge, so totally likely that there could be deer walking up and down here. Alright, I need to make my way into some pretty thick woods with no obvious trail, and like I said, it's it's hot. It's pretty much still summer, so all the vegetation is extra thick still. I'm kind of just stopping to assess what all is around me and try to figure out the best way forward, because I don't want to just plow through the brush. I am wearing a lot of permethrin, so I'm a little bit worried about ticks, but I should be okay. I wonder what sort of creature made that little hole under this log. Let me know what you think in the comments. Well, I'm not being particularly stealthy right now. I'm kind of just trying to pick my way through the woods, and they are thick woods. Frankly, I'm not that big of a fan of spiders and ticks, so if I can try to avoid them, I will. Okay, here we have one game trail and two game trails kind of connecting. One goes that way, one goes off this way, which is the direction I need to go, so that's kind of encouraging. But check this out. Look at that old oil drum back there. It has big bullet holes in it, and right above it, there's some really, really big mushrooms on this tree. Wow. All right, I need to keep trudging through the woods. This plan is falling apart by the minute because of how thick the woods are here. This is really the only way I see getting back to the spot that I found on my map. I didn't expect it to be this thick. This was initially my plan A, but this might be more of a plan B later in the season when it's a little bit easier to move through the woods, because right now it's pretty tough. All right, I'm gonna have to bail on this spot because I just am not making any progress towards where I want to go. And even if I somehow did get back there in 3 days and I somehow shot a deer, if all of those things lined up, there's no way I'd be able to pack it out. This is just too thick for me to manage right now. So I might try that spot again later in the season whenever the vegetation has kind of died and it's easier to get back there. But for now, we're gonna go check out a few more spots. It is kind of discouraging whenever you see a spot on Google Maps or on X and it looks really, really promising and you can't get to it. I run into that all the time when I'm finding fishing spots. But I'm glad I got out here and tried it before the season opens, before I wasted too much time trying to get back here when I actually wanted to shoot a deer. All right, I need to take a bit of a break to drink some water, and that's the perfect time to talk about something really interesting. I'm wearing muted camo colors, green and brown, head to toe, except this. Blue is not a common color found in nature, plus deer are bichromatic, which means they see green and they see blue really, really well. They can also see ultraviolet way better than humans. So if you have anything like ultraviolet reflective, or if you have blue, you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb. Luckily right now I'm not too worried about being spotted by deer. I'm just scouting locations. I don't really want to spook anything too bad, but this is the water bottle I have. So if you want to go in the woods and you don't want to be seen, don't wear blue. All right, while I'm standing in this little clearing between the forest to my left and the ag plots to my right, I want to check the wind. I think this might be a good spot to set up on maybe a weekday evening because of how the wind and the thermals are reacting right now. And when I say thermals, I just mean at night, the air is pretty cool, it's cooling down. As the sun comes up in the morning, thermals are rising, hot air is rising. So it's gonna kind of go that way, I'm pretty sure. There's a good hill into a bluff off this way, and then there's a pretty good sized river off this way. And that river kind of attracts that air in the evening as it cools, kind of dipping this way. I think that would be decent for an evening hunt. I'm not 100% sure, so correct me if I'm wrong, please. But while I'm here, I want to check the wind and just see what's happening around this time of day. Okay, so the wind is coming from kind of behind me. That's about southeast. It's coming from the southeast, going that way. So in short, it's coming from the forest into the fields, which could be good because in the evening the deer will be coming from the forest into the fields. So as they're coming out, I would be downwind of them. Okay, now I'm going to take you to a place where I think is going to be a really, really good spot if not for the fact that probably anyone else who wants to hunt here will try to scout it out. So I think I'm going to go over there and try to see if anyone else has already kind of claimed the spot, see if I can see any signs of life. And then from there, we'll find my backup plan, which is kind of turning more into my opening day plan. All right, I think this spot right here is going to be extremely popular, as well as right across the way, this one right. They're really thin strips of forest jutting out into the middle of huge crop fields. And I think those are going to be highways for mature bucks just cruising through the area. It's pretty much Big Buck 101 as far as everything that I've read says, is these spots right here. So I'm going to keep going farther out into this conservation area all the way to the back. And I think that I saw a little land bridge between all of these fields and some thick forest, kind of like what I tried to go through just now. And I'm pretty sure, since it's in the back, as people come in and hunt, if I'm back there, it might push deer back. And if it's in the evening, they'll go from their bedding areas to feeding. So I kind of have two directions that they may potentially go. That's just what I have in mind, but you know, who knows what's going to actually happen or if that even makes sense. It's just kind of the thought process I'm working with now. As far as I can tell, most of this property is a lot like what's behind me, mostly those sorts of bean plants. But there is a little plot full of corn, and on the other side of this little strip behind me is some sunflowers as well. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I don't know if deer particularly like or dislike sunflowers. It's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, I could have been walking on this path instead of trudging through the cornfield. Anyways, here's this little break in the woods. I'm gonna check this out because this might be a nice little spot. Uh-oh, that's not allowed. Firearms aren't allowed in here. Oh, very interesting. Nothing is growing in here right now. Another thing that I'm looking for, as well as game trails on the edges of the forest, are rubs and scrapes. I'll show you one if I find one, but so far I haven't found any. What early season in Missouri means is that the deer are still eating. It's still pretty warm and they're still bulking up. It's not the rut quite yet, so their movement can be pretty predictable. And all of this is stuff that I'll go into further detail in a future video, so don't forget to subscribe. But for now, I just know that deer are doing two main things. They're eating and they're resting. I know what they're eating, I just need to find where they're resting. There's a bunch of corn on the ground here, and I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm not seeing any hoof prints, primarily because we haven't gotten rain in a little while, so the ground is really, really dry. But I'm seeing lots of corn down in this one specific spot. Nowhere else along this whole field has there been corn down like this. Could mean something, or most likely means nothing at all. Let's keep moving. This looks pretty interesting. Just in the middle of this wood line, a patch of ground that looks like it's been slept on. This might be a bedding area. All right, I think a small deer has been through here because you can see this tree has berries and leaves. This is about chest level. But when you get down to here, they're stripped clean, and it kind of seems like something has been biting these off. So this is another piece of deer sign. Look at that. Just stripped clean on this kind of path between the forest and the crop field over here. Okay, we're just in the tree line, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this right here looks like a rub, potentially. It was a little tree that was growing that then broke from a mature deer rubbing on it, or probably a young deer, seeing as it's only about 2 feet off the ground. One of the reasons why I think that it might not be a deer rubbing is because I'm not seeing any other rubs, which I would kind of expect to see. There's a lot of good trees that a deer would rub on that I'm not seeing any signs of. So let's keep moving. I'm feeling a little bit more hopeful now because this wasn't hard to get in back in here. And I am seeing a little bit of a path through this forest, so let's keep looking. All right, this little wash right here does have a path that cuts across it. And I'm seeing what looks like some really, really old tracks, really faint. That could be deer. This is really interesting. And I think that I see something really cool up ahead. This is awesome. I know where I'm gonna set up. Well, not specifically where I'm gonna set up, but this clearing out here is perfect. And guess what I see in the mud? Tons of deer tracks, and relatively fresh too. So I'm gonna walk around this clearing a little bit. I'm gonna look around. I'm seeing some footprints that aren't mine right along here, going that way. I'm not too worried about that. It's something to keep in mind because there will probably be people back here at some point, but this is really encouraging. I am seeing a lot of tracks, but I'm also seeing a lot of human tracks as well. I'm not too concerned about that though, because this body of water here, it's really, really shallow. I'm not gonna walk out there because of how muddy it is, but this is kind of just an oxbow, kind of just an overflow from a river down that way. I think that an animal might be able to cross here, but at certain times of the year, it's probably impassable until we get down in front of me a little bit more, which is the next spot I'm gonna check. All right, this clearing out here, like I've said a few times already, looks really good, and there's tons of tracks down here. So I think what I'm gonna do is come up into the woods just a touch, just kind of back up behind the trees in front of me, and I wanna get some ranges for how far across things are. Okay, so the end of this little puddle right here, that little tip, it's about 30 yards. That would be about as far as I'm comfortable shooting. And then more in the middle, the lower middle, right about here, that's about 20. And the deer are walking around right here. Unfortunately, I don't really have any farther back I can go. On this property, I'm not allowed to do any trimming really, unless stuff is already dead, which none of this is dead by any means. So this area would be okay, not great, but it's the best I've seen so far. And I do have the added benefit of having all of this behind me to kind of break up my silhouette. And I am elevated. I am about, 8 feet up off the ground, which is better than nothing. Obviously you'd want to be about 20 feet up, but I'm not going to bring in a stand or climbers or anything. I'm really on a shoestring budget here. But I want to go check out over there and check out this line and around that corner, because I think there's some land back there that connects here to across to some more forest. So let's keep moving. Over that way is where I came through. I might be able to come up kind of next to this trail up back in here. Yeah, this might be good. Okay, so the path that I came into from the crop fields was back over there. It comes through just behind that large tree right there and funnels out into this meadow, swampy meadow. All along the edge here is a lot of deer tracks. There's also a lot of tracks of people. So I'm gonna do some ranges from here, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and just say this is my plan A and go from there. I'm gonna find some more spots, but I think that this is my plan. I'm gonna keep moving this way away from the trail right there until that's about 20 yards, because I do think that deer will come out of there, but I can't go too far this way. There's just not enough room. So I'm just gonna walk kind of back here. Let's do some ranges. I'm gonna go ahead and mark this on Onyx as plan A. I'm not totally in love with it just because of yardage reasons. I'm really close to where I would potentially shoot something. All of my mid-range shots are kind of obstructed in this spot. It's either way too close or way too far. So, and while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and look at the wind a little bit. Really dead right here, kind of going that way, which is all right. I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's good or bad. Okay, let's find another spot around here. This looks really interesting through here. It's a bunch of dried mud with pretty good deer sign. It's pretty wide open in here, this clearing, and I can kind of go up on this hill to kind of conceal myself, and this leads where all of these deer are heading. I mean, I'm seeing dozens of tracks. They're leading over to here. There's another clearing right here, a bunch of deer hooves and people walking through here, but it's the first place that you can cross without going through the water. I think that I see a lot of people walking through here. All right, all those deer tracks led to right here. Look how many there are. Dozens and dozens. It's almost worn flat. Looks like a battleground stretching right across to over there. So I think that I found another highway for deer, and I can't set up over there because of how sparse it is, but I think that I might be able to find a spot on the other side where they wouldn't be able to see me. Right back in here might be fine. Let me get a yardage on that. It looks like the width of the path across the mud is from 30 yards away to 20 yards away from this specific spot. And that means that they would be coming from behind me, from their bedding site in the thick forest, out this way towards the ag plots. But I think I can feel the wind coming towards my face, which is not good. That means the wind is going towards where they're bedding. Let me check that real quick. Oh, I'm wrong. That is a really good wind. I am exactly upwind of where they would be bedding at this time of day. Oh, that's very interesting. I like this spot a lot. There is quite a bit of vegetation behind me that kind of blocks my profile from the back, but I can still kind of peek around and through to see if anything's coming. And I could even make a shot this way. The path is over there, and they're going that way. I'm gonna follow those tracks and see where they lead, and that might give me a few more spots that are a little less exposed. Well, this area looks really promising. I'm just surrounded by tracks as far as the eye can see, just everywhere. I have to imagine that at one point the river flooded and all of this died away because it's just dried mud with no living vegetation other than these trees. So I'm gonna keep walking through here. I'm gonna see if I can find any good rubs. I'm gonna see if I can find more tracks leading to some bedding areas because I need to find a good place to kind of sit. I'm not really seeing any place where I would get any good cover with good sight lines. So I'm just gonna keep hiking back a ways. But I mean, I think there's a couple angles I could hit from that spot that I just found. But I mean, this is awesome. When I say this is awesome, I mean in terms of the amount of deer sign that I'm seeing, not in terms of great hunting spots. That might seem a little counterintuitive, but it's just encouraging to see a lot of tracks. It's not encouraging that there's no real good places of setting up for a good hunt. And I know this is fairly obvious at this point that I have no idea what I'm doing, but I mean, look at the size of this hoof print. I mean, that's massive. Here's another one, and that's tiny in comparison. There must be several good deer back here, and I'm not trophy hunting, but if a good buck comes my way, I'm gonna shoot it. I really just want a mature doe for meat, but you know, I'll take what I can get. And if a big deer is it, then hey, I'm not complaining. And although we haven't gotten rain in a while, and I can tell that because look at how deep some of these tracks are. And when I walk across, I'm barely sinking at all. I know that these aren't just old tracks because every once in a while you'll see some that are much, much shallower. Here's some raccoon tracks right here. Kind of look like a person. That's a human that went through there. That wasn't me. Someone else knows that this is a good spot. See, we have some more shallow prints. This looks like a coyote right here. You can see the nails. It looks like a dog track plus some claws. If it were a cat, I think that you wouldn't be able to see the nails. See, there's another one. But obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh my goodness. Look at how big this sucker is. Yeah, I am going to set up here for sure. Yeah, I am spoiled for deer sign over here. I can leave one track, walk 20 feet, 30 feet, and see a whole new group of tracks. They're just everywhere over here. The next thing that I'm looking for are scrapes and rubs. Deer will be coming, bucks will be coming out of velvet like right now. They'll want to be rubbing that off. Pre-rut is going to be in about a month still. And I'm hoping to find some acorns, some dropped acorns, or partially eaten acorns for some food sources. Now while I'm down here, a couple things that I'm looking for are some high ground. As you can see, I'm just walking on mud. But over here, there's some grass. And back over there's some grass. I'm gonna go look at these to see if I can find any places where deer are bedding, because that will just be further proof that this is a good area. I just did a huge loop in the woods behind me, and I didn't see much. I mean, I saw a ton of deer track, but no rubs, no poop, no acorns or anything. I came from that direction. You can kind of see the body of water that we kind of went past over there. This little drainage right here connects to another body of water over there. And guess what I found? Another deer highway. Right here, hundreds and hundreds of tracks all around. I mean, there's just tracks everywhere you walk. Some of them are headed this way. And so what I think I might do is I might even consider sitting over here somewhere and kind of get a view along this corridor. Look at that. Maybe back in here. Oh, this looks like it could be a deer bed. Maybe one or two could have bed down here. Not really sure. All of the forest behind me filled with deer, at least according to the tracks. And according to the tracks, they like to go over into the food plots in front of me. I need to intercept them. So I think my spot over there is pretty good. It's somewhere back through here. And there are trails that are cutting through this grass. So I've got to be mindful of that. This is a nice little clearing. Sitting in here might not be too bad. I have several lanes out there. Maybe a little bit more forward. I'm kind of spoiled for spots now, other than just needing good cover. In a way, I'm almost suffering from success. I'm finding a ton of tracks, but I'm not finding where they aren't. I'm not finding a good place to set up where the deer aren't walking around regularly. I mean, even right here, I just picked a random spot to cut across. Tons of deer. All right, let's take another look at what the wind is doing through here to just confirm at this time of day where the wind might be moving. Yeah, it's remaining consistent. East to west pretty much. So it kind of flips around southeast, northeast, east. But it's going east to west. I think I'm just about good here. I think that I'm gonna have to just come in and find a spot along one of these tree lines or brush lines and just kind of set up, because back here there's so many tracks everywhere that I can't really pick one trail and then go off of it. There's nothing around here and they're just everywhere. So I think that I'm gonna call it for today, and this is my only opportunity to scout, so I'm gonna come out here in 3 days with my bow and hope for the best. I might only get a few days of hunting in this week, opening week, just because of how hot it's gonna be. I really want it to get a little bit cooler. This isn't going to be that enjoyable to just sit around in. And this is my first time hunting by myself. I've never shot a deer before. I've never scouted for deer. I've sat out twice before, and I've seen one deer while actively looking for them. I see deer all the time when I fish, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it. I've done a bunch of reading, a bunch of watching videos on what to do, and at this point, I think the only thing left to do is just go for it. I can't wait. I'm really excited, and I hope you'll come along for the ride. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe because I post a new video every Friday. You might be able to guess what next Friday's video is probably gonna be. So if you want to stick around for this journey while I'm learning how to hunt, make sure to hit that subscribe button and share it with someone else who might enjoy it. I'm doing all sorts of stuff like this, hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, backpacking, all sorts of things, and I'm learning new stuff every single day. I'm just trying to become the best outdoorsman I can possibly be. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.